Esti? Esti, can you unmute yourself and can you hear us? מצלמה? אין לך קול? תיכנסי לרמקול אצלך במחשב. רגע, אני אוסיף את עצמי. אנחנו נתחיל וכשתצטרפי, בסדר, להתראות, ביי ביי.
Please.
Okay, excuse me for this bit late. Yeah, I don't know, she has some technical problems, and Naftali and Nomi, I don't see them, so anyway, we will start. So actually, this opening I wanted to do for the new participants.
And you'll mute everyone, please?
Yes, please. And Gershom, if I'm sharing, I can't mute everyone in one chat.
Okay, well, there's a huge amount of noise that seems to come from Emmanuel, and I can't listen to it much longer.
I've muted not in one shot, but okay.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you for reminding me that. So we are in chapter 21 in Leviticus. Now we did the chapters of incest and the chapters of forbidden sexual, all the sexual forbidden sexual relationship, and then and we were reminded of the Decalogue, and so we read a lot of laws that concern everyone. Now, this chapter is about the restrictions for the priests in order to keep them holy. I don't know if you had a chance to read it before the class, but we will read it now, and you will see that there are special laws for them, and even more special or severe laws for the high priest. I mean, and we will, of course, we will see why it is that way. Okay, so I'm just running so just one small thing that we did last time, and we didn't have time to deepen in it, and I would like to do it again, because it's connected to the parasha that we just read last Shabbat, and it's let's read. It's about the laws of food. You know, the kosher law that we are supposed to separate milk and meat and all that. And let's see what is the idea of the separation. This is what I want to talk about now. So before 21, this is the last verses of 20. אורית, את רוצה לקרוא את זה? יכולה לעשות unmute.
Yeah. Okay. You shall therefore separate between the clean beast and the unclean, and between the unclean fowl and the clean. And you shall not make your souls detestable by beast or by fowl or by anything wherewith in the ground. This is a typo error.
Yeah, I don't know. I did copy paste, but
Here, mine says that creepeth on the ground. Creepeth
okay,
on the
yeah,
ground. Creepeth. My
yeah,
book.
yeah. In
Okay.
Hebrew, it's
Which-
also תרמוס. כן, כן.
זוחל. Creepeth.
נכון, רמסים. כן, כן.
Then,
Okay.
which I've set apart for you to hold unclean.
Okay.
And 26, and you shall be holy unto me, for I, the Lord, am holy, and have set you apart from the peoples, that ye should be mine.
Okay, so we have here, thank you. We have here we have here the set you apart from the people, that you should be mine, okay? והבדיל אתכם מן העמים. Now, let's read again. Wendy, can you read this? We read it, not exactly the thing. Wendy, can you?
Yes, what from the people of Israel?
The people, yes.
The people of Israel will be holy on the condition that they differentiate themselves from the nations and animals that are forbidden to eat. The laws of Kashrut, therefore, have a dual role. They reflect and strengthen the choice of the people of Israel. Sex and food, utensil and menu are closely related. The text declares that refraining from eating a not kosher meat is essential to attaining holiness. This is the logical conclusion. The unclean is the opposite of the saint and his moral enemy. Moreover, the separation of Israel from the other nations, a distinction created because of the refraining of the children of Israel from eating a large part of the animal kingdom that the other nations eat, helps to complete the process of divine creation. The connection between Havdalah, to separate, to divide, and creation can be deduced from the extensive use of the root Bet Daled Lamed in the story of creation, Genesis 1:4, 6, 7, 18. To the extent right for human beings, Israel's separation from the nations is an absolute condition for maintaining order in the human world. Moreover, Kashrut laws link Havdalah to holiness. It is a model and mandate for Israel, so is its act of differentiation, first of all in the creation of the world, and then in the creation of the people of Israel.
And so it's nice to see the connection between the laws of Kashrut and the creation. And let's read the verses that you just mentioned. Gershom, can you read, please?
Sure. And God saw the light that it was good, and God divided the light from the darkness. And God said, let there be a firmament in the midst of the waters, and let it divide the waters from the waters. And God made the firmament and divided the waters which were under the firmament from the waters which were above the firmament. And it was so. And God said, let there be lights in the firmament of the heaven to divide the day from the night, and let them be for signs and for seasons and for days and years, and to rule over the day and over the night, and to divide the light from the darkness. And God saw that it was good. And there was evening and there was morning, a fourth day.
Thank you. What do you think about this idea, about this comparison between the Vayavdel in the creation story and the separation of Israel? It's not only the food is a symbol, but I think it's the separation of Israel from other nations. And since the beginning of Vayikra, we read about that Israel must not do things that other nations do. It's always this, and we will see it also today in this chapter.
Well, I feel that it's a basis for all the trouble we have against the Jews, because maybe if everybody was always in the land of Israel, it's a different thing. But once there was a dispersal to other countries, there had to be some way of communicating with other people in your work, in your studies, and everything. And I know I had a father-in-law who said we lived in a country village because of David's work. And my father-in-law said, don't mix with the Goyim. And I was very offended because if we didn't mix with our neighbors and friends, we'd have been very isolated. But
Yeah.
of course, this is going back to when all the Jews were together.
Yeah. Yeah. So what you're saying is that there was this attitude of don't mix with the grain was only also from it was very inside the heart of Jewish people. No, it's a very, I think it's a well-known phrase. Shalom, Adina.
Oh, I finally got in.
Okay, welcome. We just read the last verses of chapter 20, and we are comparing it to, according to an idea that I found in Jacob Milgrom book, with Genesis 1, because it was just the parasha of last Shabbat, and about the separation between Israel and other nations compared to the separation that God did in the creation. I think that it's a bit problematic. I don't know. Well, if we didn't have to separate all our customs since the ancient time, maybe we weren't survived. I don't know. I know that little nations like Achivi, Vayevusi, Vagendashi, all the little nations that small nations that were small people that they were in Israel, they are gone. They are gone, and all the ancient history talks about the big empire after that, the Ashur, Chet, Bavel, after that Levant, Greece, but Israel always different.
I think the separation and the dividement of the creation, many things in the creation, is for making order in the creation, making perhaps other people also were divided, were unique. We don't know. We know that we are unique, but we don't know the other. The same thing he did, the separation of the creation. Perhaps he did also separation of peoples. We know we are separated, but we don't know other people were also.
Yeah, it's very interesting. I never thought about it.
Or an order in the creation, I think.
I think the separation doesn't mean the separation to be separated from other nation in the way of like today you have to have a passport to go to another country or different, and just a separation of culture and religion and habits and all that. A very think more about culture separation from other nations. But if you're right, we don't know if it was in this kind of separation in other nations.
Ora?
Yeah.
To me, the most important separation is that religion is supposed to bring about is always between good and bad. And it's not to say that we are the good, but more that we are the example, the light unto the nations type of idea, that we're the example. If we can separate all these things, then surely everyone can simply separate good and bad things that they do.
Beautiful idea. Yeah. We should be an example. According to the yeah, it's a beautiful thought. Yeah. Okay. Any more comments? Okay, let's move on to chapter 21. You see this one? Okay. Just a minute, I could see. Claire, would you like to read? You have יש לך כוח?
Can. And the Lord said unto Moses, speak unto the priests, the sons of Aaron, and say unto them, there shall none defile himself for the dead among his people, except for his skin that is near unto him, for his mother and for his father, and for his son and for his daughter, and for his brother, and for his sister a virgin, that is near unto him, that hath had no husband for her, may he defile himself. He shall not defile himself, being a chief man among his people, to profane himself. They shall not make baldness upon their head, neither shall they shave off the corners of their beard, nor make any cutting in their flesh. They shall be holy unto their God, and not profane the name of their God. For the offerings of the Lord made by fire, the bread of their God, they do offer. Therefore, they shall be holy.
Yeah, thank you. Yes. So as I told you in the beginning, this chapter talks about the restriction for the priests. Look at something interesting about the wording here. By the way, English speakers, do we say restriction on the priest or restriction for the priests, or it doesn't matter?
Okay,
Sorry,
either.
say-
It could be
Yeah, sure.
either.
Madina, what?
I think it could be either.
Okay. So it's not a mistake here. Restriction on the priest. Okay.
Wait, but say your question once more.
If it's correct to put here the word on, restrictions on the priest, or for the priest.
Yeah, same thing. I'd agree. Yeah.
It's maybe a subtle difference, a little bit, but essentially it would be the same.
Okay, so I can do it there. Okay. So now look at the wording here in 1. I will read the Hebrew, okay? ויאמר אדוני אל משה אמור לכהנים בני אהרון, ואמרת עליהם לנפש לא יטמא בעמיו. Okay, and here it says, there shall none defile himself for the dead among his people. And when I read both before, I was confused because nefesh, it's not dead, it's not met. Nefesh is exactly the opposite, okay? But I know that the English translation many times make some kind of a commentary already in the translation. But here, when I check the Perush, the commentary in Hebrew, so nefesh here, it's on purpose the opposite. It's what we say in Hebrew, בטח יוסי ורבקה אתם מכירים, לשון סגי נהור. It's exactly the opposite. It's to say nefesh is someone alive, but here it's they are talking about the dead man.
The example can be בית החיים, בית קברות, בית החיים ולא בית המוות. זאת דוגמה שיכולה להמחיש את מה שאת אומרת.
נכון.
בית החיים.
When there are the names of the graveyards. Cemeteries are sometimes the land of the living, something like that. Yeah, anyway, so he must not go near the dead, and according to Chazal, the dead is the most, the dead man or dead person is the most profane. Okay? הטומאה הגדולה ביותר. Now he can go near his very close kin, and here we have his mother and father, son and daughter, and brother, and his sister if she's not married. Okay, once she's married, she's and if she dies, and she's profane. And this is a very, 4 is a very complicated verse in Hebrew, but I think the English made it easier. Okay, so let's move on about this. So what does the text tell us in 5? And why? Why do you think it tells us they shouldn't have, they shouldn't take, it's not they shouldn't be bold, but not naturally. They shouldn't raise their head, shave
their heads, yeah.
Shave their heads. They shouldn't shave their heads. And okay, so think every time you see something that what we should do, we shouldn't do, or what, especially what we shouldn't do. Okay, and well, now it's about the priest, but in general, you can think that probably the other people around did this.
Yeah.
Okay, and this is we always go back to this principle, and also in his normative cutting in their flesh. I thought that it's about kakua. How do you say? You know, something that. איך אומרים kakua, אורי?
Tattoo.
I'm sorry, yeah, I know this word. Yeah. So, but even just a little cutting or something like that. And here is the summing up of this group of verses. Because you shall be holy unto their God, and you will not profane. So if they do all these things, it means that they will profane the name of their God. Okay, and also because they work in the sacrifice working, and they do all the sacrifice. And here also it's a very interesting Hebrew here, and it wasn't so clear, but Ishei Adonai Lechem Elohehem. It's the same. It's about the sacrifice. Ishei, like the fire, but it's about the sacrifice. And Lechem is Lechem in the Bible many times is just any food, not only bread. Okay, it's not any food. So the food of our God is, you can understand, it's like the sacrifices. But also, I checked it up because I remember something from my Arabic 30 years ago. And lach in Arabic means meat. So I don't know if it is from this or not, but it's interesting. And it's the same letters, El Lamed Bet Mem in Arabic. So just an interesting point. Anyway, so this they can do. Now, in Deuteronomy 14, we have again, and if you remember that many laws through all the Bible, the Torah, are repeated in Deuteronomy. Not all of them, but many of them. And who didn't? עמנואל, אתה יכול לקרוא את שני הפסוקים האלה? עמנואל? תעשה רק unmute. תעשה unmute, אתה רוצה לקרוא את שני הפסוקים? I'm checking this Naftali. עמנואל? אתה רוצה לקרוא את שני הפסוקים? אני אתן למישהו אחר. So anyway, בינתיים, Claire, can you read it? Okay. No, can you unmute yourself?
Now, ye are the children of the Lord your God. Ye shall not cut yourselves, nor make any baldness between your eyes for the dead. For thou art a holy people unto the Lord thy God, and the Lord hath chosen thee to be his own treasure out of all peoples that are upon the face of the earth.
Thank you. So here, this law of not to shave the head and that is for all the people, not only the priests. Okay, look at number 2. Okay, everyone, all the Israel is the holy nation. So. Okay, so about balding, about being with bald head. Look at this nice fellow here. It's a statite. It's kind of a soft stone statue from the temple of Ashtar in Mari, and this is from here, from this period, 2650 BC. And you can see that it's a priest from the Ashtar in Mari. Mari is Mari. Excuse me. Mari is a town, a city in Syria. Okay. You can see the map here. That you can understand where we are. Here is us, and this is Iran. So in Mesopotamia, it was a very big and central city back then, and it's a very known. I mean, also when you study all kinds of topics in Bible studies, so it's always Mari is very a town that kept remaining mentioned. Okay. Anyway, so this is what we should not be looked like. Okay, let's continue. גרשום, אתה יכול לקרוא, אני אגיד לך, until 15.
I'm sorry, to begin where? At 7?
7 to 15, yes.
Okay. Is it okay if I read my translation here?
Of course. Yeah.
Okay. So a little different. They shall not marry a woman degraded by harlotry, nor shall they marry one divorced from her husband, for they are holy to their God, and you must treat them as holy, since they offer the food of your God. They shall be holy to you, for I, the Lord, who sanctify you, am holy. When the daughter of a priest degrades herself through harlotry, it is her father whom she degrades. She shall be put to the fire. The priest who is exalted above his fellows, on whose head the anointing oil has been poured, and who has been ordained to wear the vestments, shall not bare his head or rend his vestments. He shall not go in where there is any dead body. He shall not defile himself, even for his father or mother. He shall not go outside the sanctuary and profane the sanctuary of his God, for upon him is the distinction of the anointing oil of his God, mine the Lord's. He may marry only a woman who is a virgin, a widow or a divorced woman or one who is degraded by harlotry, such he may not marry. Only a virgin of his own kin may he take to wife, that he may not profane his offspring among his kin, for I, the Lord, have sanctified him.
Thank you.
Sure, some of these things are sort of very odd to me, given the history before that. I mean, a priest can only marry a Jewish woman, it seems, although Moses, not exactly. So very strange.
Yeah. And not only Moses, you have Yehuda with Tamar and his first wife. I don't remember that, but yeah.
I mean, Abraham, Isaac, Jacob.
Yeah.
Well, I just want to say Moses was not a priest.
Moses was not a priest. Yes.
No,
yes.
not saying that he was, just
Okay, but
saying that, I mean, of the greatest
Aaron
of the
was
leaders can do it, the priest
Okay,
can't.
Aaron was the first priest,
Yes.
and there weren't nobody. The rules did not apply to anybody before Aaron because
Yes.
there wasn't a priest before them, and it's and there were counting who was Jewish was different back then because clearly when a woman married somebody, a Jewish man or an Israelite, she became one. She became what her husband was. And the idea of matrilineal descent was not around at that point.
Yeah.
Right, and that's why,
You're
that's
absolutely right.
actually why it's strange to me, because, I mean, so I understand they weren't priests before that, and yet it's not like they weren't important. So it's just strange. I mean, I accept it as that's what it is, but
Yeah,
still strange.
I think priest and someone else, a leader is really, a priest is really a separated group or a class in Israel, and we can think about Moses and Aaron as, I mean, these two brothers commence the line of one of the prophets and one of the priests. Moses was the first prophet and the biggest prophet, and Aaron was the first priest, and maybe you can say, I don't know, you can say the highest priest ever, or anyway, he was the first. But yeah, you're right, Adina. All these laws are from now on. I mean, this is why they are hanging on in the desert for so much long to get the new culture, their new laws, to become a nation by themselves. Okay, here, for example, look at number 9. When did I forget? I mean, Adina, you didn't read, right? I think you didn't read. Adina, can you read 9?
9.
Yes.
When the daughter of a priest degrades herself through harlotry, it is her father whom she degrades. She shall be put to the fire. I find this very problematic.
Why? Because of the punishment?
Yes.
Yes. Okay,
We're not
so,
supposed to do stuff like that.
sorry, I can't hear you.
We don't do stuff like that.
No, we
For
don't.
people.
We don't. But look at, I want to, do you have the Bible itself? Because I think I didn't put it in my file. We can go back to Leviticus 19:21. Wait a minute, I think I have it here. Leviticus 19. Leviticus 19. Okay, here it is. No, no, it's not there. Leviticus 19:21. Yes, 29. Oh, in. I found it. Okay. Who read now? I mean, Adina, did you read? Right? Can you read this one?
Sure. Profane not thy daughter to make her a harlot, lest the land fall into harlotry and the land become full of lewdness.
So in 21 they talk about the priests, but actually it's a law of all Israel, and according to what I found about it is again because priests of other nations used to do this. Now something that okay, here we are. Okay. No. Now I think it's the atmosphere in all the book of Leviticus is that they are bad. They do all kind of terrible things and incest and all that. Don't do. They are bad. You stay good. I mean, I know that from I don't remember where I read that incest was not allowed or was considered a terrible thing everywhere or in many places. It's not that they were fine with this, the other people. So I think I think it's maybe it's like what Gershom said in the beginning, that just these are very bad things. Don't do it. Don't do. It's immoral. Maybe we can say all this. I'm not talking about how to sacrifice this and that, but all the ben adam lechavero between people, it's just immoral. So. And probably it was, although it was not was not admirable, but it was known, it was common. Now, the Bible does more strict laws for the high priest. You see? Even with the dead people, he can be with his mother, with his parents, but not with his son, daughter, and brother. Now, look at 12. He can't go out from the temple. Just he is forbidden to go out. And otherwise, because he has this ointment on his head, otherwise he will profane the name of his God. It's not written here, but otherwise he will profane the mikdash, the sanctuary.
Does that mean that from the time he's anointed, he can never leave the temple area? He just has to stay there, live there, and never leave?
This is what I found about it, and it's not that. For example, if he wash himself, right, and the ointment, he doesn't have any more the ointment, but still, because once he got this special and holy ointment, he is supposed not to leave the mikdash. But yeah, it's very hard. It's very hard law.
Yeah.
You know what? Let me see what another commentary here. If you have any commentaries in your books, you can check what they say about.
I've got one here which says, "You shall not go outside the sanctuary to attend a funeral. The high priest was not a lifelong prisoner in the temple." Is this interpretation?
So to attend a funeral.
Yeah.
Go out to simply not profane the sanctuary of his God. Yeah. So I read. Let's see what. רבקה, יש לך אולי משהו? יש לך אולי בספר שלך? מה כתוב על זה?
שאלתי אם יש לי מה?
על העניין של the priest can't, תסתכלי פירוש של פסוק 12, 12, number 12.
כן, מן המקדש לא יצא ולא יחל.
It hurts too much. It says he was dispensed from following even the funeral procession of his father and mother. It is probable that the high priest had permanent quarters in the temple precinct. That's in the commentary in the verse.
So what does it say in your book? In my Adina, so you said it's for funeral.
It says he was dispensed from following even the funeral procession of his father or mother. And it is probable that the high priest had permanent quarters in the temple precinct, like he lived in the temple precinct all the time. It doesn't make it that much clearer for me.
In my Chabad Chumash, it says he must not come into any roofed structure in which any dead bodies are present. For doing so renders one ritually defiled, nor defiled himself on account of a corpse in any other way. He must not ritually defile himself for any close relative, even his father and his mother. He may, however, defile himself in order to bury a corpse he happens upon in a deserted area if there is no one else to tend to it. He must not leave the sanctuary to participate in a funeral.
Yes. No. So in
okay. So that also what Wendy read also means if he's in a deserted area, sounds like that's outside the temple area. Most likely.
Yeah. I think, and here in my commentary, first I will tell you what Rashi says. Min hamikdash lo yetze doesn't walk after the bed. I think it means the dead, and the other nowadays commentaries they say you don't have to take the verse literally, but only it talks about a high priest that heard that someone dies from his family, and he must be do a shiva. Okay, he must not leave the work in the sanctuary. Okay, so then he will not leave the sanctuary. So yeah, it's not that Adina, for your question, it's not that he never leaves the sanctuary.
הכהן לא יצא ממקום קדושתו, אסור לו להיות בסביבות המת. איפה שיש מתים, הוא צריך להתרחק. אז העצה פה היא פשוט להסתגר בתוך המקדש, בתוך
wherever
להבדיל את עצמו ולהיות רחוק אפילו מהאנרגיה ומהאוויר של המת, לא רק לגעת במת, אלא באזור.
Yeah, I think it's a very clear explanation that I will try to translate. Everywhere that there are dead folks, dead people, the high priest must be away from them. Not to be around, not to be even, not to feel, not to breathe the same air of this surrounding.
To be isolated from the dead, to be isolated, the priest, there is a dead energy. He has to be out of.
And look at the end of verse 10. Uvgadav lo yform, no rend his clothes. So he will not tear his, when this custom of tearing so he will not do it. Okay, and this is
All right.
Yeah.
If I may add a comment, this sort of thing brings a strange conflict to me. On the one hand, I can understand that there are problems with touching the dead in certain situations, that sort of thing. Yet on the other hand, what could be more natural than death, which is part of our design, actually? So it's sort of I have a conflict internally about this. Don't know what to make out of it.
That's planned obsolescence.
I think also a conflict between that and between kabed et avicha v'et imecha. The kabed et avicha et imecha in his dead, they dead. There is, it must be, there is kabed et avicha. That is another conflict in the Torah himself, itself.
It's an interesting, but it's very interesting what he said, and I know that Chazal said that the dead is the most profane, and although you're right, it happens all the time, and people die. You know what? I will try to look at it more profoundly in other. Here they just. I think although it's natural and we have to accept it and all this, we are talking here about the class of the priests and Kohanim and especially the high priest, and this is, I think maybe we can understand by this law how special is this role and how high and how everything can, you know what, we will continue reading and you will see what is, for me it was more conflict, but it's a very, very delicate role, and so even though it is natural, it is tum'ah, and the high priest is not allowed. And
maybe it's all those psukim is to emphasize the holy of the life, that people have to be very, very care of lives in all of the means of caring. קדושת החיים, כלומר, החשיבות של קדושת החיים.
So you're saying, I mean, because
this is to emphasize the holy of lives.
ומה עם כבוד המת?
כן, אבל המשמעות הוא שמירה על לא לעשות, אם צריך להתחסן לקורונה, if you need to vaccinate, you have to vaccinate, to be careful.
But I mean, it's interesting that you see here that it's exactly the opposite. You see that.
Yes, yes, but it's like you say before,
maybe. It's very interesting because in the beginning we had in Hebrew the word nefesh. Right?
Yes.
And the first verse was the word nefesh. Nefesh is very, it's life. Even, I mean, it's not just body, it's nefesh, it's more, and it was the opposite, it was the dead. So maybe, yeah, it's very interesting. And also, so maybe it's both ideas. This is the emphasizing the holy of the life, but also to isolate, as Rivka said, the priest and the holy of the priest in the sanctuary. And let's move on to next verses. I think you will be, you will not like it very much, Gershom. Okay, Gershom, go ahead. And I think until 24.
Okay, 16. Okay, the Lord spoke further to Moses, speak to Aaron and say, no man of your offspring throughout the ages who has a defect shall be qualified to offer the food of his God. Okay, strange. No one at all who has a defect shall be qualified. No man who is blind or lame or has a limb too short or too long. No man who has a broken leg or a broken arm, or who is a hunchback or a dwarf, or who has a growth in his eye, or who has a boil scar or scurvy or crushed testes. No man among the offspring of Aaron, the priest, who has a defect shall be qualified to offer the Lord's offerings by fire. Having a defect, he shall not be qualified to offer the food of his God. He may eat of the food of his God, of the most holy as well as of the holy, but he shall not enter behind the curtain or come near the altar, for he has a defect. He shall not profane these places sacred to me, for I, the Lord, have sanctified them. Thus Moses spoke to Aaron and his sons and to all the Israelites. So again, yes, I mean that.
That is outrageous.
Exactly.
You know, it's interesting because we started in the Masorti synagogue doing bar mitzvah for special needs children because a lot of Orthodox rabbis wouldn't allow it in their synagogue.
Wow.
Outrageous.
Okay.
Outrageous.
Yeah. So, but okay. Now,
From
after
the point of view of anybody today, it certainly seems terrible, very harsh, and very prejudiced.
I can't hear you very well. I'm Adina. I really want to. It's like some vague. Did you say so? It's outrageous today. Yeah.
Today, from a point of view of anybody around now today, it seems terrible. It seems very unnecessary and harsh and bigoted.
It's like someone who's has something people or wants to have a job and he can't get it because he's not he has some kind of how do you say it, blemish. But now after the first shock, our first shock, let's think a little bit. Try to think about. I mean, I think not to every. And I'm not saying if it is right or wrong, but even today, not to any position or work or something like that. People will accept the group or the company will accept everyone. For example, did you see someone who is doing the broadcasting news, okay, is reading the Hadashot. Did you ever see someone with some defect, some you know, without one eye, broken leg, I'm not saying if it's right or wrong. I remember there was someone, a journalist, very talented journalist, Karmit Guy, okay, many years ago. And she was on TV, and she had a small gap between her front teeth. Okay, אתה זוכר את זה, יוסי? תלמיד גיא. She's a little bit, a small gap.
Super suit. I
And
remember
she was not allowed anymore to be on the TV, and she moved to the radio. She moved to the radio. And when I read this, I remember this, and I think we are shocked with these verses, but we do quite a lot of things like that today.
But Dora, this was because she was a woman. You get a lot of men presenters on television who are really ugly. I mean, they're not pleasant to look at.
Yes, and this is another. You put another thing on top. Yes, exactly.
את חושבת על כרמית גיא, נכון?
אני אמרתי, כרמית גיא.
אמרת? לא שמעתי.
כרמית גיא. And this is exactly, if it was a man, he wouldn't be moved from it. And look, for example, Amnon Abramovich, who is an excellent journalist, but he has his face after burned. And I don't know if he was a woman or not, but I don't know, okay? But we do, no, I don't know. I went to, for example, if you go to, for example, to sit, למשל לקופת חולים, okay, to Maccabi, and you see in front of and you have to make a tour for a dentist, okay, and you see in front the ladies that sit there and serve you, okay, do all the arrangements, and they are all very well dressed and uparot and look very nice, and if someone wasn't look that nice, I don't know. I mean, or in the bank, or in, what do you say?
בהקשר של מה את אומרת את זה, אורה? מעניין מאוד מה שאת אומרת.
I'm just saying that
about what? Relative to what? You said.
I'm not sure if a bank will take a draw to be in front of to serve people. I'm not sure about it.
But if I can sort of take it out of curiosity, I don't have an answer to my own question that I'm about to ask, but in this case, where one can look at it from the point of view of, okay, God, in many of these situations, not the broken leg and broken arm, but in the other birth situations, he created them this way. So they are exactly the way he created them.
And it's not their fault.
And it's not their fault. Did he do this intentionally to give them some other purpose, that they should not be tied up with this? I don't know. It just is a different way to look at it. Maybe it was a specific sign that they should do something else.
In the Bible, we have an idea. The idea said everything who is sacred must be shalem.
Yeah, perfect.
Perfect. Even the Beit HaMikdash, for example, everything was be shalem, not broke, not the menorah. They did the menorah in one piece, not לא הדביקו חתיכות, in one piece. Everything is on one piece. And that is the reason why all these chapters...
but that's different.
I would say,
it's a part of the idea.
I would say that if something is so perfect, something is wrong with it.
There is no
things
perfect.
might be
Nobody is
perfect.
perfect, you said.
Things might be perfect, and people and buildings might be perfect, but you look at a crowd of people, there are very few people who are perfect to look at.
Yes, perfect
Very
to look
few.
at, and also perfect to look at. And yeah, Adina.
I was just going to say that, you know, there's a difference if you're talking about going to, you know, people who are like representing a company or the bank or being on television as a news reporter. There's a difference between being beautiful and being presentable.
Yes.
So people who are in the position of representing the company, like a bank teller or the person, you know, that sits at the desk at the bank, or the person who's the receptionist in the doctor's office, or something like that. You may not require them to be physically beautiful, but you're going to require them to be dressed, to be, you know, clean and dressed nicely, and you know, to be presentable. And it happens. I keep talking all the time about watching Judge Judy. I love Judge Judy, but she will often say to people that, you know, where did you think you were coming today? To the beach, because they're coming in you know, looking sloppy, not in nice clothes. And she says to them, that's not the way you dress to come to court, or something like that. And of course, you know, the standards here in Israel are different from the standards in the United States about what is presentable to wear.
I agree. Yeah, I agree.
But still, you want the people representing the company to be clean and neat.
Yeah, I totally agree with this, but here you can teach someone to be presentable. You say, okay, change this clothes. It's not appropriate. Come with your hair combed and all that. But here, do you think that if someone has a gibenet, a cook back,
Right.
will be accepted in a doctor desk or as a bank teller, and he will be presentable, white shirt, clean clothes, everything about that, and you know.
Right. No, I wasn't saying it's the same thing.
Yeah.
I'm just saying that for the point of, you know, someone who's going to be the bank teller or the news reader on television or something, they want that, and certainly there's a double standard that, you know, men don't have to be handsome, but women have to be pretty.
Yes.
There's certainly a double standard there.
Certainly, and yeah.
Can I add something else?
Of course.
All the things they say they must be perfect are perfect in their surface. In outside they see. They are perfect outside, not inside, not with morality. It's only the chitzonit. God don't they're not don't relate to people or to things with the equal. It is not equal. God is not equal. You said about you said that He created the people who are sad or are broke or something, but He is not equal. האלוהים הוא לא שוויוני. הוא ברא כל מיני אנשים עקומים וטובים ורעים. הוא לא שוויוני, הוא בוחר את הטובים. לפי דעתו. shows the best in his eyes.
Yeah, maybe now in order to finish in a nice tendency, maybe we can say that it's like as when I don't know, a soldier wants to go to a very, for example, the Sayeret Commando, for example, he has to be, I don't know, in a certain health position, health situation, or health condition, or capabilities, physical capabilities, and all that. And this is before all the training that we will go through. And so maybe we can see this also as this job, this job of priest, and let alone high priest, is special, and this is the requirements, and that's all. We don't have to be offended that because we care about these people, but this is the job, this is the place, and as Rivka said, everything should be holy and perfect, and yeah, this is it. I mean.
Qualification that
yeah, this is the qualification. It's just, it is written in such a way that it's like Wendy said, outrageous. It doesn't. It is not written like he has to be tall, handsome, and with a humor sense, or something like that.
No, but we're not talking about a job here. We're talking about the right to be able to go into the sanctuary, to be able to pray. And we're talking about a child having a bar mitzvah, and the Orthodox rabbis, the extremists, won't let them do it.
Yeah.
And that's what's so. It's not a question of whether they're fit for a job or not. They should have the right that all Jews have to pray.
Yeah, this is absolutely right. But here they talk about the qualification of the priests. So if Aaron has a grandson who is he can be priest because he's the grandson of Aaron, but he has some blemish in his body, he will not be a priest because of that. We are not talking about Israel, I mean the people of Israel here in this chapter, okay? This is and what the Rabbanim do today, this is a totally different issue, but בסדר, ונדי, מדובר על כהנים פה.
Actually, at the time, being the priest was a very physically taxing job. Taking care of all the sacrifices and all, the job of the Kohanim was actually very physically taxing. And I mean, some of the things it talks about might, prevent somebody from doing the job because it was a very physically taxing job. Some of them wouldn't, but some of those things you might think would make it impossible for them to do the job of the priest, doing the sacrifices and heavy lifting and stuff.
And also, if you remember, I showed you a few times ago that I think Sharon asked this question: how would Israel be taught all these laws? I mean, there are many laws. Who will teach them? So one of the duties of the priests is exactly this: to teach the people everywhere, to go and teach them what to do and when and how and all that. The priest, it's a public. First of all, it's a public position. You work with people. You always work with people. You get their sacrifices to do something, and as Adina said, it's a very. Remember what happened to the sons of Aaron if they didn't do exactly what they were told. Anyway,
יש לי מחשבה.
כן.
Only the priest was asked to do that things. מוזס לא קיבל שום הנחיות, שום הגבלות. אני לא יודעת להגיד את זה באנגלית. מוזס לא קיבל, אין חוקים מול מוזס, שאסור לו את זה, מותר לו את זה.
Moses was not a priest, and
לא חשוב, אבל הוא מעל הפריסט. והוא לא קיבל לו הגבלות.
I remember I read somewhere that when Aaron was No. You say minui. I forgot the word. Minui. When Aaron became
Monated. He was monated.
No, appointed.
appointed to that way too. Appointed when Aaron was appointed.
Nominated.
If you remember, it's a chapter in I think 28 in Shemot, in Exodus. Anyway, it's a chapter that Moses is not mentioned even once. The name Moses that we hear all the time and we read all the time. This is the only chapter that is not mentioned. Why? This is like the stage was to the text put Aaron on the stage and Moses go back a little bit, and yeah, there are special laws for the priests. For example, priest is going through the generations. Prophet is not. To be prophet, you have to have a certain character, a certain soul, maybe. But priest, if you are it's like a Kohen and Bencher Kohen.
Yes.
Okay, so I think our time is up, and I will just stop share. Now I can see a little bit, and so are you going to the weekend?
תודה. התגעגעתי לשיעורים, אורה, שתדעי, התגעגעתי, לא הייתי הרבה זמן, ואני שמחה.
Thank you, with pleasure. So you're going, Adina and Katrina, and you're going to...
5 of us are going.
Wow, יפה מאוד. Enjoy. Katrina, you, יופי. Okay, Claire, are you staying at home? You go to the Yesod HaMa'ala?
No, because, I did not know exactly at what time I will be back from Montreal, and, I cannot register. But I will be busy this weekend for Shabbat.
Okay, so try to rest. Anyway, אז שבת, ונדי, את נוסעת?
לא.
אז שבת שלום, ונתראה.
שבת שלום.
Hello. Thank you very much.
Bye-bye.
Another nice job.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
But